Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching this out there on the World Wide Web. This is Jeremy Geelan for SYS-CON TV. We're here at 9th Cloud Expo, Silicon Valley, as is Winston Damarillo, who comes from so far away you don't even want to know. And here he is talking with you on SYS-CON TV. Winston, welcome aboard, sir. Morphlabs, one of the best things that I know you do, because everyone here is very, very North American. You not only can do all this cloud stuff, but you can make people do it back home. Tell me more.
Sounds good, and I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me, Jeremy. I'm excited to talk to you about Morphlabs and what we're doing. The company originated in the Philippines. We initially put together the architecture and the technology about 4 years ago in a city called Cebu in the Philippines.
Cebu, I told you it was far away.
And then since then we moved the headquarters to Los Angeles. So the company now has headquarters in Los Angeles with engineering teams in the Philippines, quality assurance team in Japan, and a design center in Singapore. So
truly the global.
Day one, yes. Global.
Good for you, good for you.
And then we're excited about that because I think cloud computing is a global phenomena, right? There's two sets of users that benefit from cloud computing. Obviously in the developed countries like the United States and Europe, we are getting so tired of very low utilization in our computing gear, both from a perspective of cost and our footprint in the green imprint here in the planet. And then there's the other side of the world, the developing countries, or especially the countries termed as the next 11 countries. They are experiencing a tremendous amount of growth with very little infrastructure to begin with. And what's nice about that is greenfield. They have nothing, and they have a lot of resources to grow. And I believe this is the perfect place for us to develop, world-changing technologies, sort of bridging the innovation of Silicon Valley to the next developing countries in the world.
I have that horrible thought that somebody watching doesn't know even 3 of the next 11 countries. Let's give them just a couple to orient them. So Philippines? So
the next 11 countries is obviously what's next after the BRIC, right? After the BRIC. And so what they're described to be the next generator of growth in the global GDP, right? And a good example of that would be the Philippines, Indonesia, and Turkey. So these are countries that are not, no longer a third world, and not yet quite developed as the United States, but they're on their way. And
full of energy, full of enterprise, but infrastructure maybe not there yet.
Especially now where we're all concerned about what's going on in Europe, right? And we're kind of now living the reality of a slow growth in the United States. Those are the countries that we think can benefit from cloud computing at a much higher, faster velocity of adoption than here in the United States. And like I said, the technologist in me is very excited about that because we get to experiment even more aggressively in these countries. They have a very, very heavy need for technology as their economies grow, and they're starting with a clean slate. So we get to deploy a much more cutting-edge idea there, and that's what Morphlabs is built.
What is the Morphlabs story, Winston? Because you're an unusual, you don't fit any category I can think of.
Well, I grew up. I grew up in the Philippines, and I started here in Silicon Valley. I work at Intel Corporation. This is actually my 4th startup.
You're kind of a serial guy.
I am from that perspective. But Morphlabs is very focused on what it does. We are looking at cloud computing to be an architecture switch, and that there is a reality of both economics and a degree of control when you start thinking cloud computing in the context of an enterprise. An enterprise really needed all the control that a private cloud provides, and therefore they want to have their own controller. They want to have a very specific hand into the service level, capability of their infrastructure. But on the other hand, they're also looking for both the economics of a public cloud like Amazon.com and the extensibility of a public cloud like Amazon.com. So what we're doing with Morphlabs is merging those two worlds by adopting a new architecture. And on the hardware level, what that means is that the traditional way of implementing a private cloud, which is to use blade servers and a storage area network, is now slowly moving into a more modern way of implementing cloud, at least from a hardware perspective, to what we call a modular commodity hardware. And Dell Computers is obviously the leader in that space, right? They're now beginning to put high-density blade servers with hard drives in them. And that really is what's going to drive and switch the economics of the cloud to make it cheaper on a per virtual machine basis and make it cheaper on a per terabyte basis. And the complexity there only is going to switch from the hardware itself into the software. If I have highly distributed modular hardware, I need a much more robust and powerful software to control it and marshal it and manage it. And from Morp's perspective, as we bring the solutions into the market, and especially because we're focused on greenfield and developing countries, we want to make sure it's very adaptive. And then from that standpoint, we've developed our product to be all integrated. So when you buy a technology or when you acquire a service from Morphlabs, it's the whole thing. You get the computes, the storage, the platform as a service that runs on top of that, and even automatically predefined elastic applications that sits on top of it, really focused on just use it. And it's packaged all in one. It's got a business model that's very unique, where even if you are a enterprise acquiring public cloud or private cloud, it's still on an OpEx basis. So you rent it and based on utility computing models. So we've really, switched the architecture to adapt to where cloud computing is going in the future. We've integrated it so it's very easy to deploy and implement, and then we wrapped it in a business model so that it is very much utility. You only pay for what you need, but whatever it is you pay for is only dedicated to you.
And what's your sense? There you are, you're the founder, you're the CEO. What's the sense of what time scale are we talking about here? Is this a 5-year play, a 10-year play? How long are you going to need to be driving Morphlabs? Because you're taking on quite a challenge.
Well, every startup I've done, I've exited successfully, and we've exited it successfully in kind of an average time span of 36 months. For cloud computing, and for more specifically, the opportunity is much, much bigger for us, right? It's no longer...
Prepared to stick around a little longer, you mean?
Stick around for a little longer. And
37 months.
38 perhaps. But the opportunity here is not just to bring a technology ahead for a large player to subsume and then become part of their strategy. We think that with cloud computing, what's really exciting is we're introducing innovation in software, but also in hardware, and then eventually the processes, right? We're also getting involved now, in addition to promoting the architecture of cloud computing, which is moving into this commodity modular architecture. We're also now bringing the idea that culturally, as an implementer of IT, DevOps is going to become the operating culture to really match what the hardware infrastructure, what the software can do with what the businesses are looking for, which is faster time to market, more scalable application, higher utilization. There's an operational aspect of that also needs to match, right? And so we're working tightly as well with system administrators and developers and optimizing their workflows as well as they use cloud. So it's a total end-to-end transition. And that's why I think that it's going to take longer for the market to fully absorb it, but it's going to be universal. It's the whole market's going to move into this. So we have a long ways to go, and it's a very exciting path.
It is. You're still privately held at the moment.
Still privately held.
That could change. You just have to know. They know the rest. Where can we go if I want to catch up with you? Morphlabs.com?
Well, morphlabs.com. It's www.morphlabs.com, and we're here at the show, obviously, at booth 909. And we're active on Twitter and obviously all the social media outlets as well. And in addition to learning about Morphlabs, in terms of our technology and commerce, we're spending a lot of time as well in introducing the power of cloud computing into developing countries and every other applications of cloud beyond what we're accustomed here in Silicon Valley for targeting primarily the Global 2000 and the Fortune 500.
Oh, it's fantastic. Great to catch up with you, Winston. I want to get the segue to this interview in June 2012, New York. So by then, goodness knows how much more you'll have done. You'll have made amazing progress.
Thank you, Jeremy. I appreciate being here.
Thanks so much. That's us saying goodbye from Silicon Valley, and thank you for watching out there on the World Wide Web.